Western policymakers continue to tighten sanctions against Russia, which in turn contributes to higher oil prices. According to the US media, the new block of EU sanctions will include an embargo on Russian oil. However, this scenario is unlikely, as 2 weeks ago Brussels ruled out such a possibility due to the strong dependence of the European economy on Russian energy supplies. Nevertheless, such news leads to a surge in anxiety and market the situation more tense. Moreover, this contributes to a rise in oil prices, and the situation will hardly change until Brussels brings some clarity to this issue. Brent crude oil futures are gradually appearing early losses incurred during the downward correction at the end of the last week. The quote has already returned above the level of 110, with the market sentiment remaining bullish. If the benchmark keeps gaining value, it may well reach the $120 mark. The dollar-ruble pair is still trading around 105 rubles. However, in the interbank market, the quotes were moving closer to 90 rubles per dollar, and such a gap that has been persisting for several days in a row indicates that market sentiment on the Russian currency is mainly bullish. However, the risks are still high. Moreover, they are purely political in nature. Interestingly, much depends not even on what exactly the media says, but on the way the news is presented. At the moment, fundamental factors are rather neutral, except for a possible block of sanctions from the European Union. Most likely it will be merely symbolic, as the new restrictions are expected to target only individuals and entitles. The news reports released by the US media with a view to escalating the situation will definitely have a severe impact on the ruble exchange rate and lead to its weakening, at least until the European Union makes things clear. Gold is still trading around $1,930 per 3 ounce. The metal failed to overcome the variable resistance level of $1,950. As a result, the price bounced back and returned to the area of $1,915. The asset will have a chance of gaining value only if the price consolidates above the $1,950 mark on at least the 4-hour chart. Until then, there is still a risk of a continued downward correction. The situation in the market is uncertain. This could contribute to growth in safe haven assets, including gold. However, global risks are now clearly lower than just a couple of weeks ago. At least the statements by Western officials are no longer so aggressive. Nevertheless, there are no signs of de-escalating tensions. Thus, gold is stuck around the current levels, but things may change dramatically when the European Union announces new sanctions against Russia. And that's all for now. We continue to learn developments on financial markets. Subscribe to our channel and follow news with us. See you!